there is a political showdown going on in Washington.
Absolutely. The Republican-controlled House is expected to pass a plan to let the government borrow more than $2 trillion. But the law probably won't make it through the Senate, and the president's already promised to veto it. Congress has until August 2nd to raise the debt ceiling to avoid default. Now, if a deal is not reached in that time, and we're talking 2 weeks from today, the president has warned that there is no guarantee older Americans will receive their Social Security checks next month.
So what does this mean for us? Representative Brian Bilbray joining us on the phone from Washington this morning. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning.
Is it another day of kicking the can down the road or what, Brian?
No, you can't. The days of kicking the can down the road and just raising the debt limit are over. We've got Standard & Poor's and Moody, both of them saying, look, this time you've got to not only ask to raise your debt limit, but you've got to show us how you're going to control your out-of-control spending, how you're going to handle your debt. So we're really sort of like a family that needs to reorganize its debt to be able to get the loans we need to stay in business. And this is one that's a lot more technical than a lot of people want to admit. And what's scary is all I'm hearing now is the president say he's going to veto, and that's not what we need right now. What we need is people coming forward with proposals of how do we justify going up a $2.4 trillion debt limit, and saying that you want to do it until the next election just doesn't wash. It doesn't wash for the president or for Congress.
We were talking to Duncan Hunter in the last hour, and he expressed the same frustration. This cut, cap, and balance that you may pass today is not going to go any further. We asked him, well, then what? And he really doesn't have an answer. How about you?
Well, I think the answer is the fact that this may not have enough votes to pass in itself. There's a lot of people that basically don't think that it does enough to justify going deeper, basically borrowing more. My concern is that I think that there are things we can do. Hopefully, putting a constitutional amendment through Congress and allowing the states and the people out in the communities to sort of concentrate on something that long-term will commit to debt reduction may be what saves us here, because, frankly, every time we talk about reducing our expenditures, everybody's crying Armageddon. And, Social Security has the funds. So when the president talks about the seniors not getting the Social Security funds, everybody knows that's disingenuous. The funds are there for that. The funds are there to pay the interest and pay what we owe out there. The trouble is what happens to the rest of the budget that we take for granted. That's the real crisis. And, guys, this could have been done 2 years ago. It could have been done last year. It could have been done fine between November and January when we had a lame duck session that was voting on symbolic votes for soccer teams and naming post offices. But this thing has been put off for political reasons that I think, frankly, a lot of people are frustrated with, and it needs to be addressed. But the president's budget was not even voted on by one Democrat in the Senate. So the Senate, where is the Senate? Where is Harry Reid? What's his proposal? Somebody's trying to get to go, but there's a whole lot of people that are just saying no, 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 including the president saying I'm going to veto this or that.
Right, and you brought up Social Security, Brian, and remember last week the president said to Eric Cantor, don't call my bluff, Eric. Is there really a way that the president can stop these Social Security checks from going out? Because I know a lot of people are concerned about it.
Well, the president can stop it if he wants to because he's the executive. But
sure.
The fact is, even Dennis Kucinich, which is probably one of the most liberal members of Congress. In fact, he's going to go so far to the left he runs into Ron Paul. The fact is that even he says, Mr. President, that's disingenuous. That is not fair because you know that Social Security right now has the funds to pay every check and will have the funds. The crisis comes down. What happens to the rest of the budget down the line? And so even Dennis Kucinich is calling the president on that one. So I just think we need to start talking about facts. And I guess my frustration is to hear the president say anything that addresses the problem and gives us time to work on a long-term strategy, I'll veto, because if it doesn't get me to the next election, I'm going to veto it. And I think if we make that our goal, that Republicans, Democrats, and the president all are looking at this as a way to get to the next election, and who cares what happens to that, I think the American people are going to call us all in on this thing and throw us all out in November if we play play this to the next election rather than addressing the long-term crisis.
All right, Brian, we got to go, but hopefully about this time next week we'll be talking to you with a whole lot more optimism in your voice, hopefully.
I certainly hope so, and I pray for it. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.